Some rocks or something.
All right, so the webinar has started. Let's see if I can get some participants to join.
Terry told me she would not be there.
Right, and I know Clark said he possibly,
Maybe.
right.
Maybe.
Yeah, he's
Okay. Yeah, there's 10 needs, so there's Chief. Let's promote him to a panelist.
Steve?
Stuff picked up on swine.
Hey, don't thank me, thank the contractor. Guys yell at him.
That's all I do.
Don't yell and they don't do it.
I
Yeah.
think they came out next Monday or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they usually they want those steel plates, but those are expensive. So that's where if they don't pick them up, it's like, hey,
All right,
really
definitely. Hello.
definitely having four for them.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
So really, it's just David Franklin and
Carry that didn't read and so forth.
Okay. It is 5:30. I think we can begin.
Let's do it.
We have enough people for a quorum. I went ahead and took the attendance, so I think we're ready to go. I mean, do I need to announce that or?
All present.
Yes.
Technically, just announce that roll call has. As long as Aaron has
Okay.
present. Everybody? Good.
Yep, we're good. All right. Next thing is to review and approve the previous minutes, and we have two sets of minutes to look at this week. The April 17th first. Anyone have any? I hope you had a chance to look at them. Anyone have anything to add or?
I remember this question, like it's too much.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Mine's questionable a day later.
I read through it and I don't see anything, but anybody else? Can we have a motion to approve the second? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Thank you.
Great, no problem.
And May 22nd. Same thing. I read through them and don't have anything particular to add. Yeah, make the motion to accept the minutes. Okay. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, those are taken care of. Next on the agenda is to invite our guests. Do you have anything you'd like to say?
Can I sit down?
Sure.
Clark, how are you?
Just fine, Dave. And would you like me to recite what you're about to say?
Dave Buck, 124 South Elm. We've lived here for 23 years. We live basically across the street from Ann and her family. I just want to share three quick things. I know there's a lot of stuff being looked at, whether it's complete streets or not, but the streets I'm really concerned about is South Elm from Lockwood to Big Bend. And I know a number of things are being looked at, but if I could only recommend one thing, it'd be to change the stoplights at Swan and South Elm to flashing red lights, or go back to the original 4 stop signs, which existed prior to the expansion of Highway 40.
Mm-hmm.
And if you remember, the other thing that Gene McNary wanted to do because of the expansion of Highway 40 was to widen out, but that was fought back and disapproved. But anyway, my objection is that as somebody that lives at 124 South Elm, I have no problem getting in and out of our driveway. Drivers, even during rush hour, morning and evening, are polite. I just put my blinker on and they make a space and I get in and out. I mean, we don't have any problem getting in and out of our driveway. But the problem is the speed, and particularly going through that stoplight, because with any stoplight, and you see this at Elm and Lockwood, when there's a yellow light, they scream through it. And it's really, I think, dangerous because it happens to also be an intersection where kids cross a lot, you know, to go to other people's houses or when they come home from school. So that's one. I would go back, and because we have a number of different major intersections where we only have stop signs, and it seems to work out pretty good to me. People recognize each other. I think they're more polite. I think they signal. A lot of people now drive with their brights, and so they'll flash their brights to let people know that they can go ahead of them. I mean, it works, and it could work there as well. And I think it's really needed. The second thing is the crosswalk at Gray and Lockwood. Improvements started on that crosswalk because my grandson and I almost got clipped. This was like 8 years ago when Miles was going to Bristol, and we were crossing, and I swear we almost got hit. I came to the traffic advisory board meeting, and the first improvements were put up. And then there was, I think, down the road, other complaints, and now the current diamond yellow sign with the lights on it.
Mm-hmm.
But coming over here just this afternoon, 2 little girls on bicycles pressed the button, the lights went on, and I saw it and stopped, but the other car didn't. And I had to like lean out of my window and say, stop, stop, stop. And they screeched on their brakes, and the little girls could cross. I mean, it's still a dangerous crosswalk. And the thing is that we have other crosswalks in the city. For example, at Selma and Lockwood, which is heavily used because it's by the high school kids. There's no light, there's no, you know, triangular sign. There's stop signs. People stop, and if kids are there, and they let the kids cross. I mean, I don't know. So one of my thoughts was, I would actually think about eliminating the crosswalk at Gray and Lockwood, because I don't think, I think it's like, I think people can walk down. It's not that far to walk down to Gore and cross and come over, but I think it's an accident waiting to happen. That's just my opinion. You may disagree, obviously. Okay. The third thing I just want to mention is that I sent some emails around, but there's a new street sign on East Lockwood underneath the pedestrian crossing sign that says "Be Nice, Kindness Zone," all day, every day. It's a metal sign. It's the same size as a handicap parking sign. It's white with blue lettering. It comes from the History Museum in Pittsburgh, which was the home of Mr. Rogers. And they created these signs in commemoration for Mr. Rogers, and you can buy a sign. Dr. Joe Lane, who runs the back and neck care center right next to the Boardwalk Cafe, bought one of these signs, and he just put it up. And the reason he put it up was 2 reasons. One is that he liked the message, all about kindness. But he said the real reason, the functional reason, was because, you know, his customers park in front of his store, and there's a crosswalk right there, and people were parking on the crosswalk. And so he said, this is not just a pedestrian crosswalk, this is a kindness zone, so stay out of it. And he put them up just this last Wednesday. He did it by himself. He didn't seek your all approval or Greg's approval or Chief Curtis. He just did it on his own. And I asked him today, I said, well, Dr. Joe, are you a little concerned that the city's going to tell you to take him down? And he says, really? The city's going to ask me to take down a sign about kindness? I mean, really? So anyway, that was the end of it. But I just wanted to say, there are a lot of people that are seeing this sign about kindness zone, and it's kind of cool. And it's like, maybe we should think about putting a few more up around the city. That's just a good gesture. Sends a good message. Yeah. That's
So,
good.
Dave, I applaud your sentiment. But what would this city look like if everybody and their brother went out and found a sign with their particular sentiment on it and put them up on signposts as though they were traffic signs? Isn't that going to make our traffic signs like needles in a haystack? I mean, I have to say, I think that's dangerous.
Oh, yeah, I'm not agreeing with him. I'm saying this is what he said,
Okay.
why he did what he did. And he just, you know, it's right outside of his business. And he's concerned about people blocking the crosswalk and making it unsafe. And so he took it on his own initiative to do something.
So
Dave's just alerting us so we can take it down.
okay.
Don't tell me
Yep.
that.
Well, I mean, honestly, do we have an ordinance that deals with that? I thought so.
Yes. Yeah, he's probably breaking some ordinance. I mean, I'm just sharing what he told me.
So what would we do in that situation? Would we inform him and let him take it down himself? Okay. Is that something that the Traffic Advisory Commission?
No, that would be something Public Works
would do, they forward that, you be advised to take it down or.
But I mean, just to be cordial to him,
Correct.
we want to let him know. We don't just want to go take it
Yeah,
down.
we want to go and just take it and say, hey, we're taking this, and say, hey, you need to take this down, or if you don't, then we're taking it down.
Violating such and such ordinance. Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
It's the same ordinance that applies to, technically, you can't put yard sale signs up on poles, you can't put any of these signage up, they're not the Department of Transportation regulated signs, they're not that, and it's for those particular reasons. That's
So our apology.
Oh, no
Dave,
apologies to me. I'm just being messenger. There's a part of me that applauds him for wanting to do something. But yeah, there's proper channels to go through, but I wanted to share it, and Joe knows that I'm sharing it. I mean, I'm not going behind his back.
No, I understand.
Is that a designated crosswalk?
Yes.
So what are I don't know what the regulations are for parking in crosswalks?
can't park within 10 feet of them.
So are there signs that have to say that? Or,
No.
I mean, can you offer them that you'll police that?
Ultimately, it'd just be an enforcing issue. So if someone says, hey, there's someone parking a crosswalk, they would either let me know and I'd tell Jason Flannery.
Yeah, that'd be the police department that would enforce that.
Yeah,
Right.
So.
I mean,
I mean,
if you have
do
a
it
conversation with him, can you pass that on?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The police department knows about it.
Yeah, that's the police department should enforce that.
I think he should put it in his front window.
There you go.
Yes, there you go.
But more importantly
Yes.
than a kindness sign is South Elm. So we've had a number of people now recommend flashing at different times of day, or always flashing, or back to a stop sign, because it completely changes the feel of the neighborhood. You're like the 16th person, plus my petition had that on it, that had 250 signatures. So I know Carrie was drafting something, one of our other board members, about that particular section of South Elm, and we were going to do some data collecting on that stretch as well.
Hey, can I butt in and just say it's on our agenda?
Yeah.
Let's just stick to.
Oh, is it literally? I don't have it printed in front of me. Yeah, sweet.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes,
That's it.
thank you for coming.
Yes.
Okay. Something I was going to say, I forgot. Oh, I know what it was. On that topic, a few weeks ago, my wife and I were in Phoenix visiting our youngest daughter, our middle daughter. And I saw where someone had taken their, the garbage can thing that we all wheel out to the curb. They had taken their garbage thing and they had found a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit sign, and they mounted it on the side of their.
Is that legal?
No. And I thought the same thing. That's kind of dicey.
What if you spray paint really nicely?
Please, what if you like, please?
Graffiti your trash cans all you want, but.
Yeah, I think your trash company would be upset with you for graffiti in their property, but.
Hey, real quick, why
Yes.
was there? Did you take down angrily the stop sign at the corner at your house?
Oh, it's interesting. I was going to tell the story. I went out this morning. My wife said, you better look out on the corner. I looked out the window and the stop sign is laying in my front
In your
yard.
yard.
And I
Yeah.
thought, some teenager ran up over the curb or some joker. I went out and I inspected that thing very carefully. No, it has no sign of any kind of damage at all. But years ago, I saw in it with a certain wind speed and a certain wind direction, that sign would flutter. And if you do that long enough, you'll,
Metal.
what's the word? Fatigue. You'll fatigue the metal. And that's what happened. It just cracked and fell down.
Yeah, most of our signs are breakaway signs for like safety reasons.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's self-breakaway.
Yeah.
Funny.
Anyway, I talked to somebody at, I left a message on the phone at somebody at your department.
Must not have been me.
No, was it you? Okay, old business. So thinking about the long conversation that we had at our last meeting and discussions with other members, I just thinking about this, we have 4 pretty significant initiatives that we're all trying to shepherd through the process. And I guess the message that we got from the city manager was a little bit of a wake-up call for me. That maybe rather than try to shove these through the process in a hurry, maybe we need to slow down a bit and be a little more, what's the word?
Particular.
Well, a little more, okay, I'm not coming up with it.
Slowly dissect each issue, I guess.
Well, look at each issue and take it on individually and figure out what is the best way to go forward with it. So what I would like to do this first part of the meeting is talk about these 4 and 2 things. Where are we? Where do we stand right now? And what should our priority be? If we were to have, if we were told that you can only get 1 project through the funnel at a time, what order would we put them in? That's kind of a question I think we need to think about. So first of all, on the traffic for North Elm, we're kind of trying to decide, I think right now, should we try to take that forward to the city council? Or should we, one thought that I had was that maybe we reach out to the staff members and ask them if we could have a brief meeting and talk about this together. So that's one. Item 2 is the on-street parking regarding the high school. The third one is the Complete Streets Initiative, which is the biggest elephant in the room. And the last one is the traffic calming on South Elm. So any thoughts, any of you?
Chris, I have a thought. Absolutely, Complete Streets is the most important because these other things sort of roll up under that. In other words, if the city passes a Complete Streets ordinance, things like traffic calming on North Elm have a different lens because it's really a city priority now. And if you look at that form that Dr. Peoples sent us after she said she was following staff recommendations, which we still can bring it to city council, the second big bullet is please describe how this request fits into the city's strategic plan. So right now, there is no ordinance or policy or plan around Complete Streets. And I think that needs to be our priority to get that reviewed and hopefully approved by the city, because otherwise your odds of really everyone being on the same page are less likely, if that makes any sense.
Okay. Anyone else? So one question is the issue about parking regarding the high school. Is that going to be included? I don't quite see how that fits under Complete Streets.
That's a good point. And I think maybe I should have put that one first since it's been going on for 20 years. You know, maybe that is I mean, that's more of a it really isn't, I don't think, falling under the real guidelines of Complete Streets, meaning that streets are not just for cars. Really, when we look at when we're updating and street projects, we're taking into consideration all kinds of people, not just automobiles. So,
Well, I agree with that the North Elm and the South Elm ones definitely fit under the concept of complete streets, certainly.
right.
Okay. Anybody else? Any thoughts?
The residential parking, the part of it that is around the high school, you know, every time it's brought up, you know, it's a new school year's coming, and then it's like, well, it's not gonna be done by then. So that's been said year after year, so I get that. But on the other hand, you know, we do have a couple of months until school starts again. You know?
Right.
So I think that for the residents in that area, that it prioritizes that presentation. That was my opinion.
Well, I think this could simplify things for us a bit in the sense that we can take that to the city council and, or, you know, go through the process and see if we can get that one through, and then really focus on complete streets and see if that's something that the city really wants to do.
You say the parking proposal,
It's not like Clark summarized. It doesn't necessarily fall under the complete streets, but it is important.
because we started on that when I started,
Right.
I don't remember when that was, a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
That was like one of the first things we were talking about
Yeah,
then.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe stick with that,
And complete
or
streets.
sort of one thing at a time, kind of, you're thinking?
Well, first we get this one taken care of, and then we focus our attention on complete streets.
Mhm.
And that, I think that's going to be a challenge to present that to the city in a way that everyone agrees. But if we can do that, then other projects like North and South Elm fit nicely under that umbrella.
I wonder if we're gonna lose momentum on North Elm though, because it seems like we have just the one step now to take it and present it to council. To the council, and so, I mean,
I don't think there's a timeline on that. It's
just
not
because
like,
everything takes forever anyway.
well, it's not like we have a deadline. I don't think we have
Right.
a deadline.
Oh, okay.
We have-
And one
Yeah.
of the things, Steve and I both went to the city council work session last week. And they talked about sort of this issue, and they talked about, you know, how to bring, you know, how many council members have to vote on something to get approved. And it was pretty eye-opening actually. And this, I think that we'd be, and as I understand it, the complete streets feedback is pretty close to coming back to Chris. So hopefully there will be some positive energy around that we can move that forward. But there's really some lobbying that has to go on with the council members to get something even heard. I mean, you got to get, you got to get 3 council members to even decide to put something on an agenda. So I think we risk. I think since the staff was so adamantly against that North Elm thing, I think we have a little bit more work to do, honestly, in terms of maybe as Chris said earlier, and I'm glad Chief Curtis is here tonight, but perhaps some more educating and some discussion about what we were really thinking, because I don't think we're as far away as people might think we are, but I think there might be a lot of misunderstanding about
Yes.
what was. And I did have the chance to talk to Dr. Peoples actually, and she said, and I told her about Carrie's idea of a demonstration project, and she thought this might be possibly might be a really good thing to consider, as that could be a demonstration project that wouldn't, we're not putting in any concrete or anything. So I think we have some discussion. I think we have some more work to do on that one, honestly. I did have a question about how we get back to the neighbors. I happened to run into Hockey Moore, who was one of the 4 residents at the art fair, and I did fill him in on what stage we were in and the feedback we had gotten from the city. He was appreciative to get that feedback, but it just made me wonder, hey, how do we circle back to these people that bring a petition forward and keep them informed of what's going on?
I was thinking that same thing, and then one other piece I felt like we were missing for complete streets, and I guess I'm lumping Vision Zero into that, but when Kirkwood was able to make so much progress with it, it was because they had some very extremist people who were very, very much supporting this idea, who were able to lobby and push it through. But they also did a bunch of public outreach, because you need sort of to gain, you need to educate, you need info sessions, you need the staff to understand why it helps them, you need the police to understand how it helps them. You know, we slow traffic down, we help their jobs become easier. But I think we need public buy-in, conversation, instead of us sort of in a vacuum trying to do this.
And this was something I mentioned briefly at the last meeting. We're not used to that. We don't have a team that goes out and sells these ideas.
Right.
It's not part of, it traditionally is not part of what we do. So I think you're right. I think we need some assistance or a roadmap, you know, how we might make this work.
Clark, on your question about feedback to the residents who brought proposals, I would think I would ask you or Chris to do that, and what would facilitate that would be to ask the public when they present an idea, ask them if they want feedback, and if they do, ask them for the email address. And then just say reply will be down the line, you know, but not expecting something right away, but you know, at relevant terms of the thing. And I don't know. I mean, I think it would mean we're coming from leadership and from a random person on the committee.
No, I think that's absolutely the right way to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have all their emails? Sorry. From the people? No, I guess not.
No, I don't think so.
Just addresses.
So when you guys meet in your joint team, have you talked at all about what it's going to take to promote this Complete Streets initiative?
We haven't met since we finalized it and sent it to the mayor, who sent it to the city manager. So
Okay.
I think we're sort of waiting to see what kind of feedback we get to do that. But I think that's a really good thing to add to our next meeting.
Okay.
You know, Public Works is working on Safe Streets grant.
Yeah.
So we're, I think it's due next month, I believe. So I know that my director and my boss are working on those two things. So.
Have they worked with East West Gateway and been working with other people to try to?
Yeah, they've been, I know we had one grant due today that we finally just submitted, and we reached out to Kirkwood and a few other municipalities about like how they did their project narrative and everything. And so we have a solid stance.
Good. Are you getting good feedback from Kirkwood?
Yeah.
Yeah, Pat said they were a little sketchy. He didn't use the word sketchy, but they weren't super forthcoming about.
Yeah, a lot of well, it's one big pot and everyone gets a little bit of everything. So everyone kind of was like, hey, we'll help, but we want our share.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So it's like sibling rivalry.
Yeah, it's like I want my cake, but I also want my cake to be bigger than yours. So
yeah.
So it comes and goes. I know. I think Kirk has been applying for a lot of grants. We're starting to open up that I guess that door now, because I know this is the first time we really started utilizing grants, just because it takes usually a good amount of time, and usually it's just we'll just do it ourselves. So,
you know, I think that's our biggest sort of that we're all sort of working in silos a little bit, you know, and how do we join forces to even make it bigger and bolster, you know. His second comment was about getting rid of that crosswalk, which to me is the absolute wrong thing to do. But there are all kinds of, you can go to the Central West End, and I have an unbelievable great picture of things you can do around crosswalks in terms of even just paint and identification that really make those things jump out and let people know it's a friggin' crosswalk. And, you know, the part that Steve missed in the city council meeting during the budget session was they had an amendment to the budget come forward to take, there's a fund for our street fund. It's a capital fund, and they moved four people's salaries to over to that pot of money. and it, you know, it's temporary, but I think we all know once you move a salary position over, you're not going to move back, you know. So it was sort of, it was a really interesting sort of maneuver of sort of a shell game, in my opinion, of hey, we're going to move these employees from the general fund over to this capital fund to help us balance the budget. And somebody said, hey, can that fund be used for complete streets or street projects? Oh, absolutely, that's what it's there for. So there is the thought of, hey, if these people are public works employees that actually work on streets, then it is okay to use the money from there. But it was just like all of a sudden there was, you know, $200,000 or something that moved out of that street fund that's just sitting there. That could be used for some of these really cool projects, I think, to enhance the safety and enjoyment of the streets for people in Webster. So it was just sort of an eye-opening thing for me. But I guess back to my original point is that, you know, it's great that Todd's working on, you guys are working on those projects, but and I appreciate you bringing it to us here, but I wonder if pooling more people, and as Ann says, you know, finding out what some of the residents want and getting some of these projects moving forward that are a little bit, you know, cutting edge type projects, as opposed to just chip and sealing up the road when it's time to do that again, if you know what I mean.
Okay. So what I'm taking away from this conversation is that we are going to put North Elm and South Elm under complete streets and focus on that. Do we need a motion to make that official, or we're really not voting on it?
I guess it's not vote to agree, I guess.
Do we have a consensus? I guess that's what I'm
Yeah, sure.
Well, under complete streets is probably a little misleading.
I'm sorry, before, after complete
Following,
streets,
yeah,
following
yeah,
complete streets. Okay. Any objection? Any other discussion? Okay.
Can we rediscuss it if it turns out that complete streets is taking way longer?
Oh, yes, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. If we're delayed for months, yeah, we
All
could
right.
move on some of those things. Especially probably North Elm,
Mhm.
since that's shouldn't be costly, shouldn't be too costly.
Mhm.
Okay, with everybody's okay, I'd like to move on. Do we need to talk any more about those initiatives, any of those four?
I think just awareness that, so on the parking issue, we're waiting reply from the city manager and staff.
Right.
So it's,
Right.
that's it.
And as far as I know, nothing else has changed yet. Okay.
And I think on the South Elm, aren't we waiting for some of the speed numbers or traffic counts?
Yes. Okay.
Do you know how many jobs are in front of the one we requested?
I know we have the one between L and L on Kirkham for Elm and Gore. And then,
That's on here too.
I think that was the only one that we talked about dealing with.
Okay, so we're after that.
And we do have South Elm data, but we can't, we're working on the software to figure that out. It spit the data out into a format that we cannot decipher.
Yeah, that's
Really?
Yeah, it's a new software program we've never seen before, and it spit it out into
like a weird, like it is like just straight to Excel, or does it have its own little like
its own site in Excel. It's not anything, and it just put data out onto a sheet that we're like, we don't even know how to decipher this.
Wow.
And so we're trying to figure this out.
Oh boy.
Yeah, because
Help
we've got,
us.
because we've got our new equipment and it's the same thing with ours. So I know every time that we get it, I know, yeah, I think it was either you guys or Jason's like, this data looks weird. I'm like,
He showed me the data and he looked at that and I looked at that.
it's
I don't even.
it's all Greek to me.
And it
Can you
was-
put it into
Comic
chat
limited
GPT and have
text
it
file or something?
decipher?
It's just,
Don't even know
again,
what that is.
whenever we get a new software and stuff, it's like, here's the stuff, go play with it, figure it out, and it's like, okay, well.
Who's gonna do that? Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Yes.
so I think, cause I kind of, me and Jason are the only two that really deal with the traffic software, and even still, like, if you asked my director, you like, I asked Paul.
Yeah, so we've been on the phone with the company and the help desk and all
Okay.
that, trying to figure it out, how to decipher the new two
Some process of,
decipher and put it into normal language where you can see what the speed is, what the 85th percentile is, and that. Because the old software, the old equipment we used, it was easily discerned what that was. That's how it put it out. This new one, it was pages.
What do you guys use now?
But how do we get even the software just in general? I mean, obviously, if they updated it, they didn't tell you that they updated it, or
It's completely new equipment, new everything. And so when we ran the report,
So even the device that measures
it's completely new.
it's all new.
brand new.
Okay, so
And we went from
Using the truck to
using
the
a truck to using a mounted radar system on a pole.
okay.
And it's a completely new system, and this is the first time we've deployed it. So we're
growing pains.
growing pain.
So, but yeah,
Well,
We're working on it.
so it's not just the output, it's the input.
It's the input too, and so we're trying to decipher on the input of it as well, and trying to, because it's reading two different lanes and.
Yeah.
Yes.
All I know how to do is to turn it off and turn it on.
I even do that wrong.
Yeah. Okay, well,
We
thank you for
are
that.
working on it, but yes.
I have a quick question about data. So when it gets the 85th percentile of the speed, right? That's something that comes from what Carrie always references, like the,
MUTCD, yeah.
okay. And then does it also tell you, can you also decipher like different times of day?
Yeah.
So like rush hour, the speed's gonna be like 2 miles per hour, right? And then in the middle of the day, people are going 50. So I don't understand why the 85th percentile, I can Google it, but like, why is that the most useful piece of information?
So from what I remember, the 85th percentile is usually almost kind of like just averaging, give or take, basically the range of data. And so it's kind of like, hey, here basically what we're getting is what everyone's doing. Now, again, anyone that knows traffic is going to go through and say, okay, what's it doing between AM peak and PM peak? And then you have the few guys at like midnight doing like 75 or something.
So it's can you see all that in the data that comes out?
Well, for the stuff that we have used, yes, and I'm pretty sure for their stuff, it will, because that's going to be the monumental data for anyone that knows traffic. It's like, hey, give me the peak times, show me what people are doing, because obviously you can give me a range and an average, but obviously,
right?
Because
Okay.
Thank
you.
And yes, that's what it shows. So if you set it out for the like a 14-day period, the 85th percentile is the entire 14-day period of 24 hours a day over a 14-day period. So it's giving you the entire time period over that. And then it breaks it down over all of those hours, and it shows you that, because you get outliers, like you said, at 2 o'clock in the morning, you get that outlier that it's
that one guy going 75 down Elm, and it's like, okay, well, what the heck's going on?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. And just, you know, the MUTCD, the 85th percentile is what they're saying 85% of the cars on that roadway should be traveling. And it should be, that's what the speed is.
And it helps you determine what the
what the speed should be on that road.
Do they try to, so they usually set the speed limit based upon that number, or
Potentially.
yes, go the other way?
No, what they should be.
But they should be.
So it's like, here's what people are traveling, here's what we recommend based on this data, is what it should be, and that's what basically
should be.
Yeah.
So everybody is blazing down the street, even though they probably shouldn't, but then that's what they'll say it should be, because that's what everybody's doing.
What they say is if 85% of the cars are traveling, say 35 mile an hour, they're saying that roadway is safe enough for 85% of the cars to be traveling at 35 mile an hour on that street. That's what they're saying.
But if you put it at 35, then people go 45.
That's been proven false. That's been proven false.
That's how I drive.
That's been proven false.
I mean,
That's
you
been
can
proven
go
false.
over, right?
That's been proven false.
Interesting.
Okay,
I'm gonna Google
thank
that
you for
too.
that explanation though about the hardware.
Yes.
So that's
We're
part of the
working on
whole
hardware.
this up.
Yes.
Okay. The next thing I have on the agenda, the discussion about parking on Newport was tabled. I'm waiting for our parking initiative. And then the last one was the resident that requested the lower speed on Kirkham and North Elm, and that's the one you're.
Same thing. We have the same unit out there on Kirkham now gathering the data, but
don't know what to do with
we
it.
don't how to
read
it.
Okay, that's all I have for old business. What I'd like to do is talk about the new business. Everybody okay? I have, I think, enough of these to pass around to everyone. So this is the issue that you sent us by email. And the new Bagel Union.
Well aware of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
well aware of it.
So what I did this because I have difficulty understanding the problem if I don't have a picture to look at. So here's what I'm told is happening. People coming south on South Elm turn right to get into this small parking lot. They're getting ready to I had a conversation on Saturday morning about 11 o'clock with the owner of this business. I saw that they were busy. I pulled in there. I went in and asked for the manager. When I explained what I wanted, she said, "Oh, you want to talk to the owner?" So she went and got him. So his name is Ted Wilson, I believe. So he said that they're getting ready to stripe for 6 parking spaces from the sidewalk back. Now, he said that one of their biggest problems is they want no parking along the upper side next to the neighbor. Because if someone is parked in one of these,
They'll back into the.
they will back into,
Sandwich them.
yeah. So they're going to stripe this no parking with the hope that people will follow that. And that will allow people to back out far enough to turn and then turn right coming out of that entrance. Though he admitted he has seen, and in fact, while I was there on Saturday, I observed this. Someone didn't feel comfortable turning right out of here. So they turned on the blue arrow.
Yeah.
So they went across the sidewalk and over the curb to turn right on Big Bend.
So that's
Over the sidewalk?
Yeah.
Over the sidewalk.
Why is that the sidewalk?
That's the sidewalk there on Big Bend.
It's spider coming down here.
But you're not supposed to go in or out there?
They don't think it is.
Oh.
You can't go there. It's a curb.
There's a curb there.
Urban side.
So the owner,
Oh, boy.
In a sense that it come out.
Okay. Okay.
so the owner even said, if necessary, we would be happy to make a curb cut there
Approach.
and make it one way in, one way out, which would be helpful. But I was suggesting that perhaps we could help anyway with signage. And here's what becomes very obvious is this. Suppose that their parking lot is completely full. You can't see that parking lot really until you're right on it. And so you got a line of traffic a mile long behind you. You've got a light green ahead of you. You want to make a quick turn in so you're not backing up traffic, right? But if this lot is completely full, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
There's no room to turn around. You're going to try to back out onto Elm.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my Lord, is that dangerous? So we've got an issue here that I really, you can't blame the owner, but by the same token, what are we going to do about it? Have you encountered situations like this before? And
This is the worst design ever of a parking lot.
oh yeah,
It wasn't designed for this type of a business.
the paint store that had 3 customers a day.
Yeah, and then the only thing that they could do is they could either have a trailblazer sign like an LED sign and say, hey, lot's full, don't even try it.
Oh, that would be helpful.
Or, and even for the no parking signs, they should probably have delineated people are probably still gonna park.
Yeah, I think they'll have no parking zones there, but the guy said, I'll tell you, people will ignore them.
Oh, yeah.
They do it all the time.
So,
They put cones out there now and people come and take the cones and move them.
oh, yeah,
Oh, wow.
people do it first time.
So, yeah.
We went the other day and I didn't know how to get in there.
Here,
You go.
here's my only recommendation for you guys, and this is, the only thing is, you guys don't have zero authority over this.
Because
Like I
it's,
said, it's a private business on a
Right.
private parking lot.
Right.
So you can't have any authority over their signage, you can't have any authority over what they do, and anything they do to their lot or anything they do to that, they need to go through planning and development. They need to ask for any kind of permitting or any kind of change. Anything would have to be submitted and all that kind of stuff for that to happen.
Let me clarify. because I want to go back to this guy. He was very open and
Right.
we had a nice conversation. I want to go back to him and tell him what we're recommending.
Right.
But
Now, we have-
I think Captain Perks is right. We can't recommend anything
Correct.
because
Well-
it's not our, you know, they went through the planning commission and got
There you go.
approval with whatever they did. And they have to go back there if they're going to modify. It's
Correct.
just, it's a private property and it's really just not, it doesn't fall with what we're charged, what our
But
charge is.
Chris could go back and continue the conversation and say what to do.
Yeah.
You could
guide
keep
him
it
stuff,
fully.
and he'd have to
Yeah.
go back to the business district and then
Yeah.
go back to planning and development and any kind of recommendations of
Right.
what they're trying to rectify there.
Right.
Because again, you guys are charged with traffic control and that on public roadways and that. And then obviously with Big Bend, that is a county roadway. And so even going in and trying to cut a driveway through there, if he's talking about trying to cut a driveway through on a county road.
I don't think you can, I mean, that close, was it on, yeah.
Right, can't do any of that.
Right next to the signals.
So right next to a major intersection on the county road.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, you might.
But quite honestly, I would much rather turn right here because if I'm
Problem
sitting
with
here.
that would be though, is
Oh, yeah, no,
coming
no.
this way and stopping and trying to turn in right there and then
Oh,
creating a
yeah,
traffic jam
that would
because
be
this
bad.
comes down to, this comes from the, your county would not authorize that at all.
Okay.
His best bet
Good
would
point.
be is to be probably put a curb line here to prevent people from driving over the curb
Ooh.
onto the sidewalk. Putting right turn only exit signs out of the parking lot here.
Right.
Painting and striping.
Painting
And
painting
your
and striping.
suggestion that when this is full, it would be nice if the people who are about to turn in knew that.
Yeah, so and that's where like, so if he wanted to do that, he could, but that's where again,
I don't know how they would monitor that. I mean,
And
Yeah.
monitor and enforce it.
Well, yeah,
how do you have a lot full with 5 spots? And have
Right.
one employee dedicated to watching the parking lot?
Yeah,
I
it
don't
wouldn't
think so, but it sounds, Chris, like he really needs to talk with Mara and
And the business district, they're asking for advice on what they would think to do.
okay. All right,
Yep.
all right, good. That was a good conversation. Do you have any other new business?
No, none. All the other stuff, like I said, when I get things coming that we can handle on our own, we just handle it through. When there's already existing
Yeah.
ordinances, we just take care of it.
Things are backing up in here.
Yeah, because I've had plenty of things come in. We go out and we look and we go, oh, we can just put a no parking here to corner sign, handled. We already have a blanket ordinance for that. We've had several of those come in.
Yeah,
So
good.
have you got any other requests for kindness signs?
have not.
Okay, just checking.
We could use some. That is all I have on our agenda. Is there anything that you would like to talk about?
I have one quick question,
Yeah.
probably for Justin first.
Yes.
When you're getting off of 44 and out,
Mhm.
if you go left,
Okay.
you're gonna go north on Elm, and you're coming up the hill, and the sign that says right lane must turn right,
Mhm.
right. Is there any, I had a request from someone else, that could be moved sooner?
So people know.
Because the person even showed me pictures of somebody who didn't see that and saw the sign. It was too late and they were trying to get over to the left lane. Traffic was backed up behind them down to the highway as they were blocking.
That's
They
something-
really should have
That's
gone
something we can look
straight,
into.
but
Yeah.
I didn't know if that was a county thing or.
It would be probably through public works, but once we get to big, MoDOT right of way is basically on ramps and off ramps.
Off ramps and then
And
the
then,
signals.
yeah, and the signals there, and then, so once we get, I know it'd probably be right before the surgery area.
Yes.
Right there.
So
Yeah.
we could probably look at putting something there, that's something I can look at.
Okay.
Look
You
at.
wanna handle that, Paul?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll handle that.
I
Yeah, that's my
will
area,
report
dude.
That would be, all I would do is send an email and
I hate to,
I'd go measure the signage and see what basically those are set
Yeah.
on how far back from the signal they can be.
Okay,
And we can just see if it can be, if it can be moved back a little bit, we can move it back.
okay,
Yeah.
A
great.
few weeks ago, I always turn right because my house is to the right.
Right,
A few weeks ago, the guy in front of me did exactly that. He blew through that and
Cut somebody off.
cut somebody off
Yep.
to get into the lane.
time.
Oh, man, was that a close one? Whew, screeching
But-
tires.
Chris, you're talking about,
Oh,
aren't you talking about the other, you're talking about coming going south
Oh.
on Elm. I think.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Yeah.
You're talking the other
Yeah.
one.
This is north of the Big Bend.
Okay,
Do we have our next meeting on the
We
calendar?
do.
What day is it?
20.
Oh, we did.
July.
Oh, 24th, I see it.
24th of
I got
July.
it. Yep.
Yep, 24th of July.
Now, though, since you bring that up, would this be a good time to ask you to set the one for August?
I will look at dates.
Sweet.
I will just look at, I can't set it tonight because I have to get into the computer and look at the availability of the room and stuff. So I will look at those dates tomorrow and confirm and pick one out. So we're looking at probably the 14th or 21st of August.
Okay.
And then if we want to look at September, then it would be the 11th probably and 18th of September. I
Yeah, we
do
can.
those in advance.
Sweet.
So Clark, that might be yours to run because I'm going on a trip in September.
See how easy it is to dial in and run a meeting?
Yeah.
Can I do that? I want to dial in from home. Jake's on here, he's not talking. I'm gonna dial in from home.
Okay, productive meeting. Anybody have questions or issues? Anyone want to make a motion for adjournment?
I motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second. All in favor?
I.
Aye. All right. Hey, thank you all for coming on such a beautiful evening. I'm sure there are other places you'd rather be.
You guys get time and a half for doing this meeting.
I
do not.
I do,
You do?
because I'm a lowly inspector, baby.
Lowly.
Guys, I'm
Thank you all.